Hello and welcome back to Kev's Vintage Tractor Repair. We're now going to start a new series on rebuilding a Fordson Dexta Engine. I hope you enjoy. All the parts I'm going to use in this rebuild are from MARC UK, who also sponsor this channel. I hope you enjoy.
Hello and welcome back to Kev's Vintage Tractor Repair channel. First of all, before we start, I want to apologise there hasn't been very many videos. I moved into the new workshop and it's been extremely busy to get it to where I want it, because in the end this is a working workshop. I haven't got lots of time to sit and make videos and things like that, even though I do enjoy it. I'm now ready to start again. What we have here is a Fordson Dexta engine. We're going to strip this down like I did with the other engine, have a look at some of the parts on it, little problems I've found on other tractors. What I did when I first pulled this engine out, before I pulled this engine out of the tractor, is I wanted to get it all timed up at top dead center. So if we have a look on the front of the tractor, I pulled the front cover off and the water pump, all right, which is pretty self-explanatory how that comes off. All right, so it's only these few bolts around the side. The reason I want to do that is I want to see where top dead center is, and it makes it easier for when you start rebuilding the engine. Yes, you can blow it all apart and then find where it goes and things like that. But for me, I find it easiest this way. So with this front cover off, we've got camshaft, diesel injection pump, your big idler gear in the middle, and our crankshaft at the bottom. So what I've done, I've turned it over and over and over. I can't remember how many revolutions this has to have before it times itself up again. But if you look, when you pull it apart, you'll see marks on the big idler, and all we have to do is there's a dot on the camshaft, a little line on the injection pump, and then you've got the Woodruff key, and then there's two lines there and there. So I know the front of that engine is all timed up. There's another timing mark, well, there's two more timing marks. So if I just turn the engine around, we've looked at the front of the engine, now we need to look at the side of the engine, where the injection pump is. Take this little window off, and if you look inside, it's really hard for me to get this on the camera. There's a mark on there and one on the side of the aluminium there as well. So we know the pump is timed as well. If we come around the back of the engine, front of the engine, side of the engine, now at the back of the engine. Now, like I was saying before, I timed this up before I pulled it out of the tractor, because in the bell housing, the gearbox, with the flywheel on, there's a top dead center mark on that. So the flywheel, all right, you can't put it in the wrong place. It's got a locator there. So if you strip it all apart, you can put it back to where it's meant to be anyway. But like I was saying before, when I pull engines apart, I like to time them up, and I know where everything is. So just a quick note on the back, some of the things we're going to be doing is we've got our rope seal here, rear crank seal, and we can see it's sort of leaking at the moment. But I'm going to fit a modified rope seal, all right, which is basically a modern lip seal. We're going to fit, and I'll show you how to do that as we go along. But I have got a video on fitting one, but we'll do it in real time again on this engine. But just something to note, this engine block is similar to the ones that are in a 35 135 tractor, Massey Ferguson. They all have this core plug here. If you've had problems with yours and just leaking out oil, you've done the rope seal or the lip seal you've done in the past and it's still doing it, take a look at that little core plug, because that was drilled for the oil gallery. And I've had a few in the past where they rot out here, and then all of a sudden oil comes out. All right, and then all of a sudden you think, oh, what am I doing, what am I doing? But it can be that little core plug. All right, but I'll knock that out when we start doing it so you can actually see what's behind there. But that is one thing just to watch on these engines. All right, so what we're going to do, we're going to step up and get back up the top, and we'll start stripping a few bits and pieces. We're at the top of the engine, and what we're going to do, we're going to take all the bits off from around the cylinder head before we pull all that. Those of you who've got 35s, you'll see a lot of this is very, very similar. All right, because this cylinder head is exactly the same. So you could pull a Fordson Dexta cylinder head and put on your 35, because there's the only things that are actually different are the manifolds and the front thermostat housing. But you'll see as we go along. So what we're going to do first, we'll take the thermostat housing off. So you need a 1/2 inch. Probably said it in other videos, all right, strip down videos. Just take pictures as you're going along. It's really valuable reference. How did these pipes run? How did this get wired in, or vice versa? So it's just handy reference to go back on. So this is the thermostat housing. Off that comes. Put it to one side. Thermostat out. So here's our thermostat. I like these thermostats. They've got this little jiggle pin at the top. Now that, when you refill, say you've drained the antifreeze out to put fresh in or whatever, what it's doing is letting that air, which accumulates at the top of the engine, it's coming out all the time. All right, because sometimes you have to wait until the thermostat opens to get the rest of that air out. That is sitting in the top there. So I do like these little thermostats. They're really good. Right, so that's that. The front housing, you've got 3 half-inch head bolts and then 2 9/16 head. Try and keep all your bits and pieces in one place. Makes it life a lot easier. Out that comes. You see lots of oily gunk and rubbish. It's nice to see no silicone rubbish in there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn the engine round to the back. So now we've got the back of the engine, which is 6 half-inch heads again. Now on these and the Massies, I have found in the past they'll rot out at the bottom here. Just over years and years of use and rubbish and stuff going in there, they do rot out. It is a part you can replace, but the only thing with these, you don't get this extra bracket on. On the Dexters, they have this for this back and plate to go on here where the battery sits, but on the 35s, they literally just cut down there. So you might have to do a few repairs on this or just see what you can do if you have to fit one. But let's see what this one is like. Off it comes. So we can see there's lots of rust and gunk and bits and pieces. But like I was saying before, this is where they rot out at the bottom. The water sits. You can weld them up and things like that. That'll work. But just when I start cleaning this, we'll really see what it's actually like. If we just look inside the back here, we can see how sort of rusty in it is. And they're going to rust. That is what it is. What it is. What we can see, this is where all the water sat and all this gunk and crap. But this is why they rot out. All this mixture of dirt, oil, grime. In the past, sometimes I have seen before that people put rad weld in it. There are other makes. A rad weld and all that stuff is okay. It's all right to get your home fixed, but it's not a permanent fix. But this is just all sludge and rubbish. And if you've got a problem with your tractor overheating and things like that, probably pay to give it a good rinse out. That's the water side of this cylinder head. So I'll just get another pair of gloves on. All right, so I turned the engine on the side. So we've done the water jacket side of the engine. So now what we're going to do, the air side of it. So here's our inlet manifold. We've got 6 half-inches around. There's a little full tap. Underneath here, we've got the little bit of diesel would be squirted in there. And then with the heater on, it would then help that initial start. So what we'll do, we'll take these 6 off and we'll just have a look inside. And these 2 at the back will be probably a spanner because the socket I've got is quite fat, so I can't undo the bottom one. So I'll have to do that with spanners. All I'm doing with these bits is I'm just going to put them all on the bench. I'm going to give everything a wash and a clean, shot blast it, so it's all ready for me to put back together again. And then obviously I'll put, those of you doing the drinking game, there's a shot. I just now said obviously. So put them all in a box so you just know where everything is. All right. So if you go back to when I did the video on opening the boxes to do with this engine that we're going to be using. So if you took the cylinder head and you just wanted to replace some gaskets and bits and pieces like the head, the exhaust manifold and so on, everything is in that one packet. There we go, that's that off. There's nothing too much to see in here. It's a little bit wet and stuff like that, but that's not too bad. So what we'll do, we'll spin the engine round. So that was the air intake side. So what we're going to do now is take the exhaust side off. 1/2-inch ratchet and socket again, and we'll take that off. Like that. Crack. Try and and keep everything if you can. And there we go, there's our exhaust manifold off. So we're taking that off. There's a few sort of heavy carbon deposits there, but probably that hasn't been off for a lot of years. All right, but there's nothing untoward in there. That's the exhaust manifold off. So what we'll do now is the fuel side. So we want a 5/8 spanner, front of the engine, number 1, 2, 3, so cylinders as well. You can mark them as you take them off, but I don't think it really matters with the injectors. Just depends on what you're going to do, whether you're going to get them refurbished or not. I like to have them refurbished. You go into all this work of rebuilding the engine, why not have the main thing, which is dumping the fuel in to be burnt to run your tractor more efficiently. So having the pump and the injectors done, I think is a really good thing to do. But it's all going to depend on your budget, really. Just get rid of these lines. These are nice, and it's only 3, and the thing is they can only go in one place, so they're nice and easy. So we'll clean all these up, and obviously it's second drink there, but say that again, we'll clean them up and put them back. All right, so that's the injector lines out of the way. So now we need a 1/2 inch. So what we need to do is take the leak off rail off. So I think this is an interchangeable bit between the Massey and the Fordson, and it is something you can buy if the solder has come away or they're leaking in any way. I've never had one break, but if they're going to leak anywhere, it's on these little washers that are in there. Now, I'm going to take one out to start with. I don't know if you can see it. There's a little groove in the side of this bolt. All right. So that's to let excess fuel that is in the injector travel back through and then puts itself back into the tank. So you don't really want to, you don't want to lose anything, but you definitely don't want to lose these. Worst case thing, you can always make one. All right, this little banjo bolt. It's just a normal UNF thread in there. So we'll take all those out and then just pop them back in, because when these get sent off to be refurbished, they'll all come back with new washers and all lovely and clean. So they sandblast them or put them in tumblers, all the different bits, and they come back nice and clean. That's that bit off. Now we want to undo these 9/16 nuts along the top. Now these studs which hold these in do 2 jobs. Obviously, 1, they're holding the injector down, and 2, they're the main studs for holding the cylinder head down. Hence the, I think they're 11/16 nuts which are underneath. So these studs go from here all the way into the engine block. We'll just carry on taking these off. Sometimes we need a lever. So we can see number 1 is really carboned up, so obviously it's not burning efficiently in there anyway. All right, you can see there's a copper washer on it. Now, if you have one of these tractors, it can be the 135, this, or any other make or model with diesel injectors. If you hear it sometimes blowing out of the side of the injector, it's going good sound effects. All right, sounds a bit like a train. So all those combustion gases are getting thrown out the side. All right, sometimes it means they just want tightening up to whatever the torque is in the book, or there's dirt and rubbish has got underneath that washer and it's not clamping down. So sometimes it pays just to throw the washers out and just fit some new ones, and that should cure that little problem if you do have it. So that's number 1, which I'll give it a quick, number 2 and number 3. We'll pull the injectors out, and that's what we're going to see down there. Look at all that rubbish that's inside. So that's number 3. So if we move across to number 2, which I think is very similar, number 1 as well. All right, so if we were just replacing injectors, we really want to clean those right out. One more bit to take off. We've taken the injectors out. Okay, so we've done the fuel side. All right, now this is the combustion side. What we're going to do is we're going to take these off. All right, these are another replaceable part if you need to replace them in any way. But I will say they can be an absolute pig to reseal. Once you take them off and you put them on again, you get new gaskets, you'd have to put a lot of paste around them to reseal them, but they can be a nightmare. So what we'll do, we'll just take these off. I think there's a 1/2 inch, or was it 9/16? 9/16. Right, let's see where we get. I don't think these have been off for a very, very long time. That's the amount of paint on them as well. So we'll undo all these, but I think they're going to be extremely tight. Right, let's see what we find. They don't normally rot out or anything like that, so you can use them again. But if you wanted, you could replace them as well. But obviously another drink is the gaskets for these to replace them. Right, so I think what I'm going to have to do is get a hammer or an old chisel. You'll see in a moment, once these are off, why I can't get the chisel all the way down the back of it. Here's our little combustion cap. Obviously there's the little combustion chamber. These ones must be the original ones because they've just got this big copper gasket on there. Normally it'll cover all the holes. But like I was saying before, if you don't clean these right out properly, if you're just replacing them, you'll never get them to seal. So you'll put all back together if you were just doing this job on your tractor at home. Put the injection lines on, exhaust manifold on, put all those bits on, you'll get it running and they'll be leaking. You'll be swearing, all right, because you've got to take it all off again. That's all they are. So we'll just take the other two off. Let's see if we can just get in the back of this one. There we go, there's another one off. Similar condition to the last one. This one's getting a bit more awkward, but we're nearly there. I know, that one comes again. That's your combustion caps. That's majority of the bits and pieces off our cylinder head on this engine. So I'm going to call it for this video. Next video, we'll take the rocker bits and pieces off. All right, and we'll probably lift the cylinder head off as well. All right, and that'll be the next video. What I want to do, say again, is I do apologise if there hasn't been any videos, but there will start being a few more now. So hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.